Hi guys, welcome to my YouTube channel. So today I'm going to be testing out the Huda Beauty Faux Filter Foundation. So this is a brand new foundation. It was released about a week ago and I bought mine on Sephora.com. It was $40 US and you get 1.1 fluid ounces of product. So you get a little more than what is in a standard foundation, and it's pretty like middle of the line in terms of high-end pricing. So I got mine in the shade 300N Latte, which is a light medium with a neutral undertone. So the claims of the foundation are that it is a high coverage cream foundation, it camouflages imperfections and pigmentation, and it has a soft focus filter finish. So when I was reading online, basically it is a full coverage matte foundation, which a lot of brands are releasing full coverage matte foundations right now. So I'm really excited to try this out. I really like Huda Beauty. I have an eyeshadow palette from her as well as some of her liquid lips. So I'm excited to see how this works out. This is the packaging. It's in like an acrylic plastic container, and yeah, I'm gonna test this puppy out. So in the box it does come with a primer sample as well. She released a primer and a brush at the same time. So I didn't buy either of those, but I'm gonna try this primer on half of my face because this is a pore filling primer and I wanna see if it does affect the wear of the foundation and make it better. So I'm gonna try this on half of my face and then I'm gonna try my Guerlain Lore primer on the other half. So this is not a pore filling primer, so we'll also see if that affects how it looks on my face, if it's less smooth looking having the pores not being filled in. So I also have a wet beauty blender and a Sigma F80 foundation brush as well. So I'm going to start off with the pore filling primer. It's called the Complexion Perfection Pre-Makeup Base, and I believe this is $35 if you buy the full size of it. It's white. Ooh, it has a really nice smell. I honestly can't like tell you what the smell is, but it does smell really nice. It definitely has a fragrance though, so if you're very sensitive in skin or you don't like fragrance, it definitely has a strong fragrance in it. So I'm just gonna so it feels actually very hydrating, like it almost feels like a moisturizer, like a thicker type of a moisturizer, but as you sort of press on it, it does start to get a little bit more tacky feeling, which is good for priming the face because it helps the foundation stick. But it does feel very hydrating. Like I love the way it's feeling just going onto the skin. Okay, and then for the other half, I'm just going to take a pump of the Guerlain Lore primer. And I'm just going to again use my fingers. Okay, so I have both the primers on now, so I will move on to foundation. Okay, so I think I'll start off with the brush. I'm just going to take a pump on the back of my hand. And then I will dot a little bit onto the side that I used the Huda primer. So the foundation also has a scent. It smells really good actually. Like I really like that smell, but I'll have to see if it dissipates after wearing the foundation because it is pretty strong. But it's not like a very strong like alcohol-y perfume scent. So I think that's why I really don't mind the smell at all. So the coverage on this is amazing. I didn't even use barely anything that was on the back of my hand, probably less than half of it. And that's completely covered up this half of my face. So I think I might just try the Beauty Blender on the other half just to see if it's like very different. So I'll take a little bit of that and then dot that on this side of my face as well. Okay, so I do actually have a little bit still left on the back of my hand. I'll go back into some areas that I need extra coverage, but so far, even on the Beauty Blender side, it looks amazing, honestly. Like it really does still look like skin. Like it hasn't completely probably dried down yet. It definitely still has a little bit of a tacky feel, but right now it doesn't look super matte. Like it looks like a very satin matte type of finish and it looks really natural on the skin, which is really nice, but it's done just an amazing job of covering up imperfections. Like right here on my forehead I have 2 spots and it covered those up really, really nicely. And it's not clinging to anything at all either. It's not clinging to like dry patches or anything, because I'm a little bit dry right here on my nose and it looks just beautiful right there. It doesn't look like I have actually any dryness on that spot at all. So I think the Beauty Blender side might be a touch more sheer, but it still looks like very, very full coverage on both sides. Honestly, if you were to see me in real life, I don't think you would be able to tell that there was a difference from side to side. So both application methods are really nice. I just think there might be like a touch more coverage on this side where I applied it with the brush. And this is also the side with the Huda primer as well. So I think with the Beauty Blender, I'm going to go back in with a little bit of what is on my hand. And I'll just press it a little bit into areas where I want more coverage. So around the nose, and then right here on the forehead where I'm breaking out a little bit. I don't think I even need to go in for a second pump, because since I am still using concealer, I think that would just be honestly too much coverage. This just looks so beautiful. Like, it is the most flawless full coverage, but my skin still looks very natural. It's interesting because the areas like right here where I'm breaking out, the foundation actually did a really good job of sort of neutralizing those and covering them up. But like here and here, like areas that I have freckles, you can still see the freckles like very prominently. It didn't like cover them up. So you still see, and even right here on my nose, I have freckling at the top of my nose, and you can still see that. So it's not like completely masking my face, but it still is just giving me so much coverage. Like, it really looks beautiful right now. It doesn't seem to be changing color too much on the back of my hand right here where I added it. So that's good. One good thing is I can't smell the foundation like on my face anymore. Maybe I'm used to it or the smell has sort of dissipated, but I can't smell it right now, which is good. So it's slightly more tacky on the Beauty Blender side, but I did apply this side second. It's starting to feel a little more dried down on the brush side. So excuse my hair, by the way, I didn't blow dry it today, so it's kind of being like flat and annoying, but that's okay. Yeah, so I feel like now that it's had a little bit more time to dry down, it definitely looks a little bit more sheer on the Beauty Blender side. You can see just a little bit more fullness of like the pigmentation on this side. If you really want like more full coverage, you might want to go with a brush application. From side to side, the pores honestly don't look too different in terms of like primer. It looks pretty well the same on both sides. Like, they look pretty filled in. You can still see it a little bit around here where the pores are a little bit bigger in my T-zone area on my cheeks, but not so much so that I feel like I need to go in with more foundation or that I don't feel like it looks good. Like, it still looks really good, but it hasn't like completely filled in the pores. It looks honestly the same on both sides. So I'll see in terms of how the primer sort of affects them. Maybe one will be more long wearing, I don't know. So I think I want to do my concealer on camera. This is the YSL All Hours concealer. I have mine in the shade 2 Ivory. I've been really loving this concealer ever since I tried it out on camera actually. And this is what I've been using basically every time I do my makeup. So I want to try this out with the foundation and see how they sort of react together. Okay, so I'm going to use the Beauty Blender to put the concealer on because that's how I usually apply concealer under my eyes. I might have mentioned this, but when I put the foundation on the back of my hand to test the color, it almost seemed to dry down like a little bit more cool, and I lean a little bit more warm. I'm neutral, but I lean more warm, so in foundations I sort of go for either warm or neutral depending, but when it's actually on my face, it's dried down about half a shade darker than when it's wet, so it still looks perfectly fine, like it fits in, and it's dried down like very neutral on the face, so it doesn't look cool whatsoever on the face. It definitely has like a very just neutral peachy undertone to it, so it fits with my skin tone like just absolutely perfect. So I'm actually a lot happier with how it looks on my face than how it looked on the back of my hand. And the concealer so far is blending in really nicely. It looks totally seamless with the foundation. I actually kind of like that it's dried down about half a shade maybe darker, because I usually like to brighten with my concealer, and so I like when the foundation is just a touch darker so that when I have the lighter concealer on, it doesn't lighten up my skin tone too much. Definitely dried down. It doesn't feel very tacky at all. Like, there is a little bit of stick to it, but just barely. It doesn't feel either like I have a lot of foundation. I only used one pump, and with my All Hours I definitely always use at least 2. So a little bit went such a long way with this foundation. So I'm really, really happy with it so far. I'm going to add all the rest of my makeup off camera, and then I will do check-ins throughout the night. So right now it is 5:15. It is late, but I was running errands today and I didn't need to wear makeup. So I will have this on probably at least 5 hours. I'll try and keep it on till at least 10 or something like that. So I will put the rest of my makeup on and then I will do some more check-ins throughout the night. Okay, so this is my first check-in. It is now 7:50 p.m. and when I last checked in, I think it was around 5:15, so it's been about 2.5 hours. My makeup applied so nicely on top of it. I used all products that I knew already worked for me, and there were no problems, like nothing was patchy or weird applying on top of it. It honestly doesn't look very matte to me. I did set my face, but I feel like it is giving me like a very natural glowy look to the skin, which I really, really like. I don't love foundations that dry down to like a powder finish. I think that they are just hard to work with, and I just don't always love the way that they look on my skin. I would rather have something that's a little more natural and then have to powder and set my face after. And it just looks really flawless, but after it's really been sitting in my skin and it has like a little bit of my natural oils peeking through, it just looks really natural. I can't smell it anymore, so the fragrance is not still there. And I will say that on either side with the different primers, there is no difference. Like this was the side that I had the Huda primer, and then this was the side that I had my Guerlain primer, and there's no difference in how it looks. Like my pores are not minimized or maximized on either side. So that's one thing to take into account. Maybe if you have a primer that you already know like works for you, you might not have to buy the Huda one separately, but I still am going to wear it for a few more hours and see if it does help the longevity to have that pore filling primer on this side. So I will check in later, probably before I plan on actually taking my makeup off, and I will show you how everything has worn throughout the rest of the night. So I will see you in a little bit. Okay, so it is now 11:11 p.m. exactly. So I think I last checked in, it was around 8. So it's been 6 hours in all that I have been wearing the foundation. So after wearing it this 6 hours, I actually really, really like it. I think it looks so beautiful on the skin and very, very natural. It's retained all its coverage, and I'm a little bit shinier like in my T-zone area, but not so much so that like I would feel the need to blot or anything. It's just maybe if you did have oilier skin than me, you might want to powder or blot after wearing it for, you know, an extended amount of time. But I think it just looks really, really beautiful. I think it's held up. It hasn't started breaking off anywhere. It didn't oxidize. It doesn't look weird in any of the areas where I had to add extra coverage. I just think it's a really, really beautiful foundation. So far, I'm really, really loving it. The side with the Huda primer and the side with the Guerlain primer, I think the side with the Guerlain primer probably has a little less coverage. This side definitely looks a little bit more full coverage still, so that's one thing to take into account. Maybe you do need a pore filling primer, or maybe use a brush, because that's what I did on this side of my face. And this side right here, it just looks like there's a little bit less coverage, but again, not so much so that I would feel the need to like add anything on top of it to help cover that area up. I think it just looks very natural, very, very flawless though. One thing I will say, which is the only like con, is that while I was eating, I did use a cloth napkin and I wiped some food like off of my face, and there was a little bit of makeup transfer on the cloth. So I didn't lose any of the coverage in terms of like on my skin, but there was obviously that makeup transfer on the actual cloth. So this is not transfer proof. If you were to hug someone, or if you had like light colored clothes and you rubbed them on your face, you might transfer that onto the clothes. So that's something to keep in mind. But that was the only like con that I found so far. Overall, I really like it. I'm definitely going to keep playing around with it, but I'm really, really happy with this so far. So I think Huda Beauty did an amazing job with this foundation. So, I hope you guys liked the video. I hope it was helpful if you were looking at this foundation. And if you did like the video, please like and subscribe, and have a great day or night wherever you are. Bye!